I think that Peacemaker's Earth X, where the Nazis won World War II, I think it's the same universe that Ultraman was sucked into in that black hole in the Superman movie. Remember, we saw him fall into that black hole, and they say in the movie that on the other side of that black hole is an entire other reality. And I think this is going to have some huge ramifications for Man of Tomorrow and follow up on some major things that were set up in Superman. Remember, James Gunn has been very vocal and insistent about how Superman and Peacemaker Season 2 are connected and laying out this overarching story and how these projects lead into one another. And we're beginning to see that happen already with connections between Superman and Peacemaker, not only with the Justice Gang, but the interdimensional tech and Lex Luthor's role in this show. And we can assume this is all leading to something bigger and planting seeds for the first chapter of this DCU. Many think that it's leading to Darkseid and that these metal boxes that open to the 99 other realities and the doors, they think that perhaps it's a mother box, and they're probably right. But I think before we get to Darkseid, we are going to see another war between worlds. Let me explain. Peacemaker's alternate reality has, yes, officially been revealed as Earth X, a reality where the Nazis won World War II. And come on, Chris, how did you not see How did you not see all the Nazi stuff? Okay, anyway, giant Hitler mural, nothing. It's officially Earth X. And I really loved how in this universe, Chris's dad, in the main universe, he is such a contrarian that he's this, raging racist. But in a world where being a raging racist is the norm, he's not a Nazi. He's not a racist, raging piece of shit because he just has this, contrarian, rebellious mindset. In every reality, I guess. Now, many people I've heard discussing this episode and beginning to discuss the finale, they're thinking that they're done with Earth X and that we won't be revisiting this universe in the finale or anytime soon. And to that, I just have to say, you're fucking crazy, man. Okay, maybe not in the finale, but God, I think it would be in the finale. I mean, look, there's no way that they just left that door left that door open, no, but left the door open for Keith to return and then just not do it. That James Gunn is an intentional writer. There's no way he does that. There's no way that there's this entire other reality where we get it revealed that people of color and gay people and anyone who dares to question this regime are living in camps. There's no way they expect us to just forget about that. I mean, yes, look, it's an entire reality that has this whole Nazi regime baked into it, and it has been baked into it for the better part of a century. I get that. And it would take a lot, yeah, to tear it down and rebuild. But I think that would be a great season of television for perhaps Creature Commandos. Have Flag Sr. send G.I. Robot and the Creature Commandos into Earth X to free the people in cages so that they can rise up and overthrow this Nazi regime. And God, please let me see G.I. Robot in live action slaughtering Nazis. You gotta do it. But to get back to your question, are other heroes in this universe, are they Nazis? I actually heard it suggested by someone that the Justice League of Earth X should be portrayed by the Snyder Justice League. And they weren't saying it as like a joke, like, haha, get it, because Snyder Bros are a little much. They weren't saying it like that. They were saying like, oh, that would be, extending an olive branch and, bringing them back for a little bit. Don't bring them back and call them Nazis. That's just going to stir some shit up. But anyway, to answer the question, yes, it's complicated. There are some heroes that are in that world and who are likely Nazis, but a lot of them likely just do not exist in this reality. But one hero that does come to mind that does likely exist in this universe and is likely a super Nazi is Superman. In the comics version of Earth X, there is a Nazi Superman who goes by the name Overman. So TLDR, in that universe, Kal-El, he landed in Nazi Germany instead of Kansas, USA. And in this universe, because the Nazis had Superman and raised him to be a Nazi, they used his power to give them the boost they needed to win World War II. And that's what brings me to Ultraman and James Gunn's Superman. They took some liberties with Ultraman. They made him a clone instead of a Superman from another universe. And it's also been suggested that when he fell through that that black hole, that he actually fell into like a Bizarro universe, and that he's going to return in Man of Tomorrow as the villain Bizarro Superman, and like deformed from the black hole, like stretching him apart but not tearing him apart because he's Superman, and like he is ready for revenge on Superman and Lex Luthor. I've talked a lot about that. Others have theorized about that as well. And is what would lead Superman and Lex to team up, which is what is happening in Man of Tomorrow. But I have another theory, another option. As we know, with black holes and universes and hopping in between them, there's time dilation. What if Ultraman fell into a parallel reality, but a few decades in the past? And what if he was found and cared for and perhaps even controlled by the Nazis, who then perhaps hacked into his chip that Luthor used to control him, and they then used him to win the war? Further connecting Peacemaker and Superman and the portals and this ongoing story that James Gunn does not tell as a then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. No, no, no. James Gunn is the type of storyteller who says, this happens, therefore this happens. He is an intentional storyteller. And some are going to say, no, 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 they're not going to connect Peacemaker and Superman that tightly. They're not going to make it to where you have to see Peacemaker in order to watch Man of Tomorrow. You can't make Peacemaker required viewing. And to that, I say, you're not wrong. James Gunn would not make the very adult Peacemaker a required viewing show in order to watch his films. I don't think he'd do that with any show. I think he has said as much, that you will not have to have seen, every show or even every movie in order to keep up and enjoy, individual movies. He's very cognizant of that issue, especially with, movie to movie is one thing, but having to require like an entire season of television, especially like a lesser watched, animated show or something like that, and making that required viewing to watch a movie, that's a big ask. So no, James Gunn is not going to do that, but he is going to take advantage of the fact that for those who do watch all the shows and all the movies, you're going to benefit from it. What he's going to do is make these shows not required viewing, but valuable viewing. You can see Man of Tomorrow, and in that movie, you can learn that Ultraman has returned from the beyond. You can learn in Man of Tomorrow that, Ultraman ended up creating a nasty reality where the Nazis won World War II. And you can do all of that without having to have seen Peacemaker. So someone can go into Man of Tomorrow and learn all of this in that movie, because that's the way he would tell the story. But if you've seen Peacemaker season 2, if you've seen Creature Commandos, then it's all the more enjoyable, but it's not any less enjoyable if you haven't seen it. And guys, having Ultraman return as Overman, Nazi Superman, and like perhaps having lived an entire life, like the better part of a century, over in that other reality, and working with Nazi scientists to reconstruct a portal, or taking the portal that Blue Dragon had and invading the DCU, evil Nazi Superman and his minions, that is a threat that I could totally see bringing Lex and Superman together. Not only because they both have history with this clone of Superman, but because despite their differences, I think they can both agree that Nazis suck and that they're evil and that they must be stopped. And most of the movie going audience, the general audience, can get behind that as well. Scary that I had to say most and not all, but yeah. And oh, oh my God. What if we get to see this Nazi tyrant Superman become of the opinion that he has fulfilled Kal-El's parents' wish of conquering the planet, taking wives, etc. And he is now seeking to fulfill that wish on Prime Earth as well, since Prime Superman would not. And that brings back in the whole message left by Kal-El's parents, and this just all ties together so perfectly. And Man of Tomorrow would still work as just a direct sequel to Superman, but if you've seen Peacemaker season 2, then you have that fun additional information. But hey, Those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. Thanks so much for that question, Daylon. That was a fun one. Hey everybody, Colton here, and this is the mailbag style show where I take your questions about Marvel, Star Wars, DC, movies and streaming in general. Whatever you want to ask, send it in to the email address AskColtonNow@gmail.com, link in the description below. And hey, maybe you'll see your question featured right here on the show.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.